I've noticed lately that many developers are making similar mistakes with their navigation menus. Those mistakes are related to UI and are easily fixable with a few lines of CSS. And that's exactly what I'll show you in this video. I'll outline some of those common mistakes and how to easily fix them. Not only this, I will show you a nice tip on how to create a delayed effect for the drop-down menu using only CSS. For this, we'll use new cutting-edge CSS features that are already in the baseline. Right, I've set up a sample demo on CodePen. You're going to find the link in the description if you want to check it out yourself. And before we dig into the code, I want to mention that in this video, I will focus only on the visual aspect of the menu and the UI. There are, of course, additional aspects of navigation menus that you should take into consideration when building menus, and primarily I'm thinking here about accessibility. If you are building menus, especially with the dropdowns, well, then make sure that they are accessible. I will not cover this part in this video, but if you want me to create a follow-up and explain how to make this menu accessible, then just let me know in the comments and I'll probably do it. With that out of the way, let's focus on the code. I'll open developer tools and there's nothing special. We have a navigation element and UL list with a couple of items, and one of those items has a submenu which contains another UL. This is the drop-down menu that is revealed on hover. Mistake number one that I see all the time is related to navigation menus created only with text. So you don't have any borders here around items, you only have the text. If I try to hover the first item here, you'll see that the clickable area is only on the text itself. There's no wiggle room whatsoever. This is even more pronounced on mobile devices than on desktop. So when you're dealing with text-only navigation menus, give users bigger target areas. And the way to accomplish that would be simply to increase the padding around those anchors here. First, I will add the red background to my items so you can see what's happening. And now you clearly see that the area is only around the text. The way to fix this would be to add a little bit more padding around those items. There we go. And now as you see, my target area is much more forgiving and a lot bigger. And of course, if I remove the background here, you're going to see that this additional padding also increased the perceived gap between our items. So I will adjust this. I will find my header LI item, and I have here margin inline start set to 2 rem units. I will change this to 1 rem unit. And this is actually the second mistake that I see in navigation menus specifically, although it's not really specifically related to navigation menus. A mistake here is that we're actually using margin to add a gap between those items, because this navigation menu is created using flexbox. Unordered list is set with display flex, and display flex actually supports the gap property. And just a quick note here, the gap property was not always supported with flexbox. When the flexbox was first released, you couldn't use gap. You had to use something like this, but eventually flexbox started supporting the gap property. It's in the baseline, it's supported in all modern browsers, so you don't have to think about browser support if you're doing this. I'll comment out this selector. I'll add a gap property with 2 rem units. You're going to see immediately that our gap increases, but we're going to adjust this and set it to 1 rem instead. The next few mistakes are related to drop-down menus, and in this example here, I have the drop-down menu on social media as clearly indicated by an arrow. I have intentionally set it up to be horizontal in this demo so I can exaggerate the mistakes that you're going to see next. The first one is related to the target area of the drop-down menu. If I hover my parent menu item, social media, you'll see that now this selector is forgiving because we've added extra padding, but this still might not be enough for drop-down menus. Because if I try to cover TikTok here, and this is a natural path that I would take to hover it, then the menu disappears. And it disappears because the target area is only related to the parent item and the drop-down menu. In the code, essentially, as the LI item is hovered, the submenu changes from display none to display block. And the target area, again, is not big enough here. Fixing this problem is quite simple. The only thing that you need here is additional pseudo element that will be invisible, but it will just expand the target area, and I will set this up on my header submenu on ordered list. I'm using before element to create an arrow here, so I can use an after pseudo element to expand the target area. Here I'm creating block level element. It's positioned absolutely with 100% width and 3 rem units of height. This can be, of course, adjusted according to your menu sizes, and it's positioned at a bottom 100, which means that we will push it from the bottom of the item all the way to the top. I will add a red background here so you can see it clearly. Now, if I hover it, this after element is covering a lot of the area, and it's actually going underneath my other items, so it's not going to interfere with those, but it gives me plenty of space to move my mouse around without actually accidentally closing the menu. I will comment out the background here, so now this element essentially is invisible, but it gives me a bigger target area for the hover. The next mistake, also related to drop-down menu, is not adding delay before closing the menu. Now, as you see, immediately as I scroll away from the sub-item, the sub-menu is closed. Ideally, you want the drop-down menu to stay opened a fraction of a second before actually closing it. Traditionally, to accomplish this, you would use JavaScript, and on hover, you would set a class that shows the sub-menu, and on hover out, after a certain delay, after a timeout, you would remove that class so the menu would close. Today, this can be accomplished with pure CSS, and this technique is supported in all modern browsers, so you can use it safely in production without thinking about it. As I mentioned, a submenu is by default set to display none, and when I hover it, then I set display to block. A new CSS property, transition behavior, allows you to transition non-transitionable, non-animatable properties, which means that you can actually set up transition on the display property and have the drop-down menu stay opened even after your mouse moves away. On my header submenu, I will set transition, and I will transition display property over the course of 1 second. This doesn't work by default because display is a non-transitionable property, but we can actually set transition behavior to allow discrete, which will turn display into transitionable property. If I hover the submenu now, this transition of 1 second will happen before the display property is flipped from display block to display none. Display property has only fixed state like display none and display block, and there's no animation between. It's either on or off. So what the transition does here is it waits for the transition to finish before actually flipping the value of the display. So display property here is transitioned and is waiting 1 second before the value flips. We have another problem here. If I hover social media item and now I switch to YouTube, my submenu stays open, and that is not an ideal experience. If somebody hovers a different top level item, you actually want to close the dropdown immediately, which is especially important if you're dealing with multiple dropdowns, because you almost never want to have two submenus, two dropdown menus simultaneously opened. And we can deal with this by changing transition duration on the items that are not currently hovered. This is the part of the code that you already see on the screen. This right here, I will uncomment it and show you how it works. Immediately as I hover the top level item, the drop down closes, but if I move my mouse away from the menu, then transition of 1 second still happens before display is flipped. So what I'm doing here is, first, I want to make sure that this rule only applies if one of the header li items is in the state of hover. I don't want to change the transition duration to 0 if none of the li items are being hovered. So this is the first part of the selector. It's targeting header ul element that has direct child header li in a state of hover, and if it does, then I'm targeting header li elements that are not in a state of hover, and I will set this transition duration to the header submenu, or actually the drop-down menu. This might seem very confusing, so I encourage you to actually open the demo, play around with it, comment parts of the code here, parts of the selector here, and see how the behavior changes. Has pseudo-class is in the baseline today, and if you want to learn more about how it works, well, check out the video that I have on has pseudo-class. The link will be on the screen and in the description. I've actually also used has pseudo-class to add this arrow on my item that has a drop-down menu. I've set this up on header anchor links, and here I'm using the native CSS nesting. So this is telling the browser that if the anchor link has a sibling header submenu, which is our drop-down menu list, then we will add after pseudo element and set its content to this arrow, which indicates that indeed there is a drop-down menu right here. This allows me to add a visual indicator to all items where there is a drop-down menu without having to add additional class to my HTML. I have already mentioned that I won't be focusing on the accessibility of navigation menus, so don't take me up on that. You probably even shouldn't use drop-down menus that are triggered on hover, because that's very difficult to pull off accessibly, but people do use drop-down menus on hover. I see them all the time, so these are the ways that you can improve at least a little bit the user interface of your drop-down menus. The last mistake that I've seen with navigation menus is related to single-page websites or single-page apps, and that is if you have an anchor link that links to a certain section in the page. For this demo, I've added a footer element and pushed it all the way down so we can have a little bit of area for scrolling. In the code, of course, I've set up my footer with the ID footer, and in the href for my anchor link is actually targeting that particular ID. So when I click it, I will jump immediately to the footer. Ideally, if the user clicks this anchor link, you want to scroll the page all the way down to that particular target, to that item. And you actually don't have to use JavaScript to accomplish this. There is a simple CSS rule, scroll behavior, that allows you to do exactly this. You have to set it up on the element that is scrollable. And if you want to know exactly which element is scrollable on our page, you can see this clearly in the developer tools. Here is the body element and here is HTML element. And there is a clear indication that this element has a scrollable overflow. And that is exactly the target for our property, scroll behavior. I'll set it up right here, HTML, and property is scroll behavior. The value is smooth. Now, if I click my anchor link, my page will actually smoothly scroll all the way to my target element. So you don't have to resort to JavaScript to use that. You can simply use scroll behavior with the value smooth and create a smooth in-page anchor link. So these are the common mistakes that developers usually make with navigation menus based on my experience of browsing the web and paying attention to navigation menus in the past couple of weeks. Have you noticed any mistakes with the navigation menus? If you did, please share them in the comments below. Thank you so much for your attention. My name is Zoran Jambor. I will see and hear you in a different drop-down menu, or rather, in the next video.